This burn notes. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Just the little moments that matter the most. The weed I blow so loud that it's distorted. None of my bitches from round here, I swear they imported from across the water, right across the border. Been waiting for so long to eat, I think they lost my order. But now I'm ready, festivities for the taking. Only color I fuck with is green, I'm clearly a racist. Asking for my blood sacrifice, clearly I must have made it. Underrated for certain, but watch the public debate it. Clearly I'ma be faded, clearly I'ma be zooted. Ready for any challenge, a bold step up and do it. I'm top notch, keep you.
Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Orel, also known as SwagTech, and today we're taking a look at the RSST from SmokTech. I picked this up at captivate.com. If you've ever heard of the drip stick, or bent drip stick, BDS 90s, BDS 60s, DS 90s, DS 60s, they all come from Captivate, and they're also the fine folks who sold this to me. I am impressed with it. I like to say that up front, how my initial feelings are. Throughout this video, though, I'm going to do a review of it. I'm going to rebuild it for you so you guys can see how that works out. I'm actually going to rebuild it with a ceramic and stainless steel hybrid mesh. Stainless steel mesh hybrid wick. That's it. I'm going to rebuild it that way with the ceramic sleeve. If you've never seen anyone do that, then you'll see it today. And yeah, let's get right into it. How about this? How about I show you guys how to rebuild it first and then do the review second. So we'll go ahead and cut to that, do a close-up. We'll show you guys how I built it, and then from there we'll talk more about it. I'll explain how it's performing and what modifications, if any, that I've made. So let's do that. Okay, guys, this is going to be an up-close look at the AC9 clone, or the RSST from SmokTech. Take off this drip tip. Here, I'm going to give you guys a look at the inside. That air hole looks tiny. I'm going to have to open that, I see now. Alright. Of course we have, well, let me get something to point with. We got a spring-loaded center post here with a washer. And of course that's Phillips head. I'm sorry about the focusing. We have our negative post, or our negative connection point, contact point here. This is our fill hole. We'll get that out of there. And of course that's where you just refill your e-liquid there. And a big chunky 3.5 millimeter wick hole. It just opens up a lot of possibilities. So I think that's pretty cool. Alright, well, let's take it apart. I know you guys have seen this before, but for some reason just cannot rebuild without completely disassembling the device. So let's do it. You're going to pull this center post out, and when you're pulling this out, be careful, because that insulator and that spring will slide down and off. You don't want to lose them. Alright, and this bottom portion here, the bottom cap, is actually what screws off to release the tank. So screw that off, and it's a good bit of threads, not too much, but there's a good bit of threads to hold that in. I want to say that it was Travis Nibbs who has a brass post, but mine is stainless, and I'm cool with that. Tank comes off. It is plastic. It is not frosted glass or bulletproof glass. Of course, this is a clone, and it is a cheap version. If I'm not mistaken, the AC9 tanks actually do fit. It looks almost as if they just completely copied the AC9. It's amazing how much it looks like that device. If I didn't tell you any different, you'd probably think it was just an AC9 if you saw it. Alright, so I'm going to put this post back on here. We're going to put this thing back together so we can, build this coil. The kind of coil that we're going to build, and actually before I do that, I want to show you guys something. If you screw it too far down, the post will come out of the bottom way too far. It is one piece, and if you do that and screw it down in your mod, then you may push the center pin in your post down to your particular mod. So always remember, when you're screwing this, you might screw it down too tight. Check it, then back off of that screw a little bit. Give yourself some breathing room. Make sure that you don't break anything. Alright, so on to this wick. The wick that we're going to do is a hybrid wick, ceramic and stainless steel mesh. I have a pre-oxidized wick of 500 stainless steel mesh. I have some ceramic here and some 28 gauge Canthal hanging in the back. We're going to put the ceramic over the mesh. That's actually a lot easier than it seems. I think it was Steve who said that the ceramic is a lot like a Chinese finger trap. So when you put the mesh inside, then really as you push down on it, it's going to expand and give more room for the mesh to just basically slide through. That's it. It's really like a ceramic sleeve, and it's pretty brilliant. It's going to insulate your wire from shorts against the stainless steel mesh. Also help out with hot legs because it makes for a thick wick, and it also means that you'll be wrapping less coils. So actually, how about we get into that now? I'm going to flame this off really quick, make sure I get all the impurities off of it, and let's wrap this coil. Alright, now what I'm going to do is a 3 wrap, and this is again 28 gauge Canthal. So we're going to do a 3 wrap here, and my goal is to get between 0.5 ohms and 0.9 ohms. Don't want to go too far below the 1 ohm level, but I definitely want to be underneath that. And I think 3 wraps will give me enough coverage for great vapor on this, and at the same time, just work well. Put me at the ownage I'd want to be at, I guess I'd say. So we're getting this wrapped here, and it's turning out nicely. Now this is not a pretty setup by any means. Once you get juice and everything on this coil, it's not gonna look it's not gonna look awesome, and you're not really gonna want to show it off too much to anyone. But I guarantee you that it's gonna vape cleanly, and it's gonna be a hell of a lot easier than figuring out why you're having shorts and hot legs and this, that, and the third. Just use a nice hybrid wick. Now that big gargantuan wick hole there, I love having it because it's versatile. I can play around with different wick styles when I got all that extra space. So I tell you what we'll do. We're gonna make sure that this fits in here nicely and that it's not touching anything. Actually, the tank is surrounding everything in there, so it's not gonna short out, and then you're insulated at the top, so it's not gonna short out. I just want to make sure it's not touching the bottom of the tank so that we get good wicking. Alright, so we're gonna bolt down these leads here, and I say bolt down, we're really just gonna screw them down. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff at this point. If you've seen a Genesis video before, it gets different when you're dealing with the center post spring, but it's really not that different. You just make sure that you put that wire between the spacer and the head of the screw. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now. Sorry about the focusing issues. Now this is my very first build ever of this, and I pulled this right out of the mailbox, and I came home, and the first thing I did was set up my camera, turn on the light, and start building this thing for myself. So it's not as pretty of a build as I would like, but if you look at how much time I actually spent building the coil and putting it in, it took no time at all. It took no time at all. So let's see, we got this screwed in and we're pretty much good to go here. I don't like the way that negative lead is looking though. It's not looking too cool to me. The way I had it wrapped around might be an issue here. Space out some wires. How about I just fix it? It won't be an issue. I wrapped this lead around the wrong side, so I'm gonna bring it back and around. Yeah, underneath the back way here. Get it underneath there. Hold it down and just screw it in. And there we go. Alright, and that should work out quite nicely. Looked good to me. So we're going to check the ohms here. And this is coming in at 0.7, right where I wanted it to be. I'm actually pretty happy with myself. Let's see if I can make it so you guys can see this. Maybe block some of this light here. 0.7 ohms. That is where I want to be. I like 0.7 ohms because I can vape it off of a fully charged battery, and I don't have to intentionally kill my batteries or stare at my batteries while they're charging in order to pull them off and get a decent vape. I'm going to be vaping throughout the entire power cycle of that battery. So we got this up and running here. We're going to fire these coils and make sure that they're all even. I think my bottom coil is not firing properly, and I know it's hard for you to see this with that light flashing off of the stainless steel there, but let's see here. If I can find the right angle, I'll show you. Here, we'll cover this again. Take a look at this. When I'm firing it, that last coil right there at the bottom just is not cooperating. So a little poking and a little prodding will always do you good. Rake those coils. It's the easiest way to fix, some of the most minor problems that we have, or even some of the most major problems that we have out of Genesis atomizers. Play around with those coils, find that sweet spot, and I guarantee you'll get a nice even glow, just like this one here. I'm going to cover this light again so you guys can see, but that is burning pretty evenly. Let's take a look here. So we'll shadow that out. Take a look at this. And that is just nice and pretty, that particular coil. So we're going to rock with this, and I'm going to take these leads off here. Let's get rid of those and get rid of the spring. You can't do that with a spring. It's just gonna pop right out. You're gonna have to cut it, and there's no big deal. I got a pair of scissors here. I'm gonna lock this back down because I just pulled it out. Rookie mistake dealing with this AC9 clone, but these scissors should work just fine. So let's grab these, make a little cut here, and that should be good to go. Looks nice. And there it is. There's a firing coil. So I got my juice here, and we're going to refill. There we go. Load up on this coil. How about that? Instead of filling up, let's check the coil and see how that looks. Then we really should be done. I'll show you guys some vapor production, and we'll take it back up top. Oh, that's not bad at all. Oh, that's nice. Okay. This is going to be good. Alright, so you've seen how I built my coil and my wick setup. I am pleased with it. That's right where I like to live. Since I built that coil, which was yesterday, like I got this thing yesterday. I pulled out the camera, set it up, started building. It was my first time building on camera. It was my first time building on this atomizer, and I think it turned out pretty well. It has dropped though since then. It's gone from 0.7 to 0.6 ohms. This battery is probably at 4 volts, 3.9 volts. It's pretty fresh. I'm going to go ahead and give a vape and we'll see what we get. I can only blow O-rings when I'm not on camera. I don't know why. There's menthol in there and it is raping the back of my throat. Oh, excuse me. Wow. Alright. This is what I'm getting from that vape. You can see plenty of vapor. Just right where you want to be in terms of vapor. And I think that it is amazing that it's performing this way. And I thought the same thing of the iGo, given the voltage loss of the tech mod itself. And I think it's about 0.3-ish volts that are falling off of this thing. So I think that's great. There is one thing that I had to do, of course. I'm gonna pop this off. I had to drill open that top cap, of course. And there was a reason why I had to do that and why I did that. The air hole that it comes with stock is just tiny. And I can look at this one of two ways. I can be very optimistic and say that the reason the air hole is so tiny is because the cap is definitely thinner than the original AC9. It makes it easier to drill out, and any user can just drill out their own holes. I bored this out using a steel screw and just kept working it, and it took me about 10 minutes to do, but it wasn't that bad at all. Or I can say that the air hole is just too small because the fine folks over at SmokTech don't use rebuildable atomizers. I don't know. I definitely have no idea, but I'd say that it's so simple to bore this hole out that it's a non-issue. Literally, like if I'm using a screw to do it, then you can use a corkscrew or pretty much anything that's just going to be sharper and or harder than this material, and just keep working it, and you'll get through and you'll make a nice size hole for yourself to get some airflow. A lot of things I addressed while I was building the coil, and it's kind of pointless to go back over them and talk over them again, so I'm not. Instead, I'm going to address just the aesthetics of the device, really, and the performance so far. It's pretty light compared to the actual AC9 because the materials are thinner and that tank is plastic. And I believe that the AC9 tank is plastic, but it's bulletproof plastic. And this definitely isn't. Whether this tank will crack, I'm not sure of. I highly doubt it. And the reason why I doubt it is because it is thick. Although it is cheaper than the material used in the original AC9, it's definitely thick. Any other subtle differences to the AC9? That's pretty much it. Other than that, it is a complete copy of the AC9 from Vapinaze. The drip tip. And I'm talking about the drip tip because it comes with it. And the drip tip was a brilliant idea by SmokTech. I haven't spoken to them and confirmed that this is why they did it. And a lot of the times when I speak, I'll be honest, a lot of times when I speak, it's just common sense stuff. This drip tip is heavy. Like, it is heavy. The top cap to the AC9, not so heavy. Actually, the drip tip is heavier than this top cap. And what that weight and that extra heft of this drip tip does is add a feeling of quality to the entire device. We have this thing where heavier is kind of better, thicker, more durable, strong. And that's the impression that this heavy drip tip gives off. When you look at it, you wouldn't think that at least a third of the weight of this atomizer here is in the drip tip. But it is. And I appreciate that. I know it's a little thing to kind of point out because 9 times out of 10 we're going to put our own drip tip on it. But I found myself using this Ming drip tip because it is heavier. And it kind of counterbalances the weight of the battery. I know, little stuff, but when you've been vaping for a while, you notice all the little stuff, and that's what we do here. I'm going to take another vape off this, and then I'm going to talk to you about flavor and what I'm getting out of it. That's really attributed to my coil, but yet and still, I think it kind of applies to the atomizer as well. Alright. Every juice that I've put in here between last night and today has tasted exactly like it should taste, with a couple of exceptions. I do have cartomizer juices here. And yeah, I was up all night, so I was vaping like all night. But I do have cartomizer juices. And those are juices with extremely strong flavors that excel in cartomizers because cartomizers dull those flavors. And I tried one of them in the tank, and the flavor was just, it was just too strong. I mean, you can almost taste the flavoring within the juice, but like I said, I purpose those juices for cartomizers, so that's where that stands. So I'm going to get the flavor out of this a 10 because it's as good as the coil that you put in it, the wick and coil setup that you put in it, and it's versatile. You can actually U-wick this, if you can see that there. If you noticed in the video, I didn't say anything about it, but you could potentially U-wick this through the fill hole there. How you'd refill it, I don't know, because the tank and all that is one unit. So once you do that, you're kind of stuck with the juice that's in it, because I don't believe you can go through the negative post, and I'm not about to take my negative post off to try it. I have no interest in U-wicking. You really don't need to U-wick though. The tank itself isn't that huge. I don't know how many mils of juice it holds. I want to say that it holds about 2, maybe 3. It may even hold more past this section of the tank, but I never fill it past that point. So I get like 2 mils in, and then I just stop. It may be 3, but if you noticed in the video, the bottle that I was using was a little sample bottle, and about half of that went in. If that's a 3 mil bottle plus the overfill, I mean, it's about 2 mils worth of juice in there. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, man, there's really not much else to say about this atomizer. You've seen me rebuild it. I think it's a quality piece of kit for $30. You really can't go wrong. Captivate had them. I don't know if they still have them in stock, but if they do, I definitely recommend it. While you're there, man, if you can pick up one of those drip sticks, definitely do that. They sell out pretty quickly. And if I'm not mistaken, they've gone international at this point, and they're selling them in vendors overseas, across the pond. So if you're in Europe or somewhere else watching this, you may have a vendor that is selling drip sticks from Captivate. As far as this product goes, it's approved by me. I like it. It makes me want to get an AC9. That's what it does. So I know there was huge controversy about this device. It is copyright infringement, it is this, it is that. As a consumer, and that's what I bought this with my own money, I am a freaking consumer, and as a consumer, I will say that this does not hurt Vaponaze's business. Instead, I think that they'll see an increase in their business, because if I'm getting this quality of a vape from something that's or a piece of kit that's less quality, then I wonder what's going to happen when I up the ante. Or I would love to have an AC9 for when I'm home and I can tinker around with and play with and produce clouds of vapor, and then take this thing out in the world. That way if I drop it or break it, I'm only out $30. So that's another thing there. And that's really where I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it there. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Like I said, I give this a thumbs up. I like it. If you have the money, go and get it. It's just a quality piece. I like it a lot. So, I'm Orel, also known as SwagTech. Safe clouds.
Wake up with your mind on the case at a moment to decide. Thank God.